one of our civilian search aircraft got visuals on a number of small objects, including, as I understand it, a wooden pallet.
They have to be two separate pieces of debris. That one piece of debris can't have moved that far and in that direction in that period of time.
There's a very good chance that these two images show the same object.
There's a cyclone heading towards the search area. The storm itself is going to be in the way of anything trying to fly its way south or indeed trying to sail its way south.
马来西亚真的很顺的，让我说啊，真的。
So that was a big secret you won't show us?
There's something in the air. Fresh hope that the search for MH370 is close to a breakthrough. Two satellite images taken 24 hours apart, possibly wreckage from the missing airliner. And a sighting by Australian search teams that they think may be debris from the jet. And now French satellites have identified another object in the same body of water. 4 new leads to help solve one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries.
New satellite imagery, new Chinese satellite imagery, does seem to suggest at least one large object down there, consistent with the object that earlier satellite imagery discovered, which I told the Australian Parliament about last week. Yesterday, one of our civilian search aircraft got visuals on a number of objects in a fairly small area in the overall Australian search zone, including, as I understand it, a wooden pallet.
Is it cargo from the lost jet?
We asked the same question ourselves, so we went to some of the expert airlines, and the use of wooden pallets is quite common in the industry. They can be packed, they're usually packed into another container which is loaded in the belly of the aircraft, but within that container it's quite common to have items on pallets and then put into the other items. So it's a possible lead.
The resources and assets being thrown at this multinational operation continue to be ramped up. 2 Japanese P-3C aircraft have joined the mission, as have Chinese planes and their crews.
Really big international effort, and it does show that many countries are capable of pulling together in a time of trouble. It is a very important humanitarian exercise. We owe it to the almost 240 people on board the plane. We owe it to their grieving families. We owe it to the governments of the countries concerned to do everything we can to discover as much as we can about the fate of MH370.
We went out there in the area, we assessed the weather conditions. Unfortunately, they have deteriorated since our last sortie. However, there are other aircraft out there searching other areas who were getting better visibility. There was cloud down to the surface, and at times we were completely enclosed with cloud right down at our minimum operating altitude.
So what's the update today?
There was no daily press conference from Kuala Lumpur today. The families and the facilities at the hotel have had to make way for the Malaysian Formula One. But the questions keep coming.
What have the French found? So what have the French found?
silence only gives way to conjecture and suspicion.
We just want to know.
No, you wait.
Very briefly, why can't you explain it?
I think they just released a statement. Just read the statement.
What are you trying to hide, sir, if you won't
I'm not.
explain?
The
Sir, is there a big secret you won't show us?
But, and this is a big but, these are leads and still nothing more. The world's oceans work in a very strange way. This dock washed up on a Washington state beach. It came from Japan, ripped off by the tsunami that struck the country in 2011. That means it was carried on the waves across the Pacific Ocean for more than 4,700 miles. The voyage took 18 months. And this motorbike was found washed up on a Canadian beach. It too was swept away from Japan in the same disaster. The southern Indian Ocean is known to attract detritus from all over the world, and there's a number of reasons why.
This is a very interesting place in the global ocean. It's really at the southern end of the Indian Ocean where it starts to merge with the Southern Ocean to the south. The Southern Ocean's the real powerhouse of the global ocean, very energetic, a very strong and persistent eastward flowing current. Further to the north, we've got large-scale circulation, the South Equatorial Current that flows westward and then flows down the coast of Africa and then recirculates to form the Southern Indian Current, which flows parallel with the southern coast of Australia. That's pretty warm water in the Indian Ocean, and where we're looking for the plane at the moment, there's the confluence with the much colder water in the Southern Ocean. We get eddying and meandering where there are those two different water masses starting to mingle. So it's no surprise that you get a certain accumulation of ocean debris in this region.
So these satellite images may prove to be nothing more than ocean junk. Even experts, renowned leaders in their field, can't agree.
They have to be two separate pieces of debris. They're about 120 kilometres apart.
And they couldn't have moved that far in the time?
They can spread that far in the 10 or 12 days, but that one piece of debris can't have moved that far and in that direction in that period of time. So whatever we're looking at different debris.
There's a high likelihood. We've seen two independent radar satellite images with large return showing or suggesting similar sized pieces of debris in the ocean relatively close to each other. It's an area where there's meandering and eddying in the ocean surface current, and so the difference in position between the two sightings would seem very credible, very, very consistent with what we know about the ocean behaviour in that region. So I think there's a very good chance they could be the same observation.
The contradiction illustrates the enormity of the task facing the search mission. The question will only be answered with any degree of certainty if and when the objects are found. But that is a massive undertaking. The problem isn't just the vast area of sea that the plane could have ditched in, but its depth. The Indian Ocean goes down more than 8,000 metres. That's almost as deep as Mount Everest is high. Images from an American satellite emerged showing possible debris here, about 1,500 miles southwest of Perth on the Australian coast. A Chinese satellite also took pictures of a similar object just 70 miles southwest of the first images. The sea here is between 2,000 and 4,000 metres deep. That means there is hope for more information at least. The 777's black box recorder is designed to keep working at depths of up to 6,000 metres. Deep, turbulent water, a huge expanse of remote ocean, and now one more obstacle to factor in. A cyclone is building up in the region. It's going to slow down the teams heading to the search area.
And this is going to make things a lot more difficult. It's reaching its strength just about now, with wind gusts up to around 135 kilometres per hour. So, I mean, very, very strong winds, and it's quite wide across as well. And it's standing in the way. If you look at exactly where it is, you can see it's just to the south of Jakarta and Java, and the storm itself is going to be in the way of anything trying to fly its way south or indeed trying to sail its way south.
Coming up in part 2. One mother's grief and another's anger. Helpless as they wait for their sons to return. Their anguish shared around the world, and Malaysia waits for proof before it can begin to grieve.
One of our civilian search aircraft got visuals on a number of small objects, including, as I understand it, a wooden pallet.
They have to be two separate pieces of debris. That one piece of debris can't have moved that far and in that direction in that period of time.
There's a very good chance that these two images show the same object.
There's a cyclone heading towards the search area. The storm itself is going to be in the way of anything trying to fly its way south or indeed trying to sail its way south.
马来西亚真的很顺的，让我说啊，真的。
So, is there a big secret you won't share with us?
The promises and assurances are made every day. The search will go on. We are confident of finding something. That's what the families are told. But ultimately, they count for little. 239 people have vanished without trace, each one a son or daughter, mother or father, husband or wife. The waiting for news is becoming unbearable.
Oh God, give me strength and guidance. I can't tell you how much I miss my son. This has gone on for so long now. I pray that he's safe. I've been praying to God to guide me. I can't tell you how much I miss him. He's been gone for so long now. I've been talking to a photo of him, asking, when will you come back to me? I pray for you, son, to be home safe.
The new leads bring conflicting emotions. If they do prove to be wreckage from flight MH370, then we will know once and for all what happened to the jet. It will end the agonizing wait and the not knowing. But it also means that none of the plane's passengers or crew will ever come home.
If the object turns out to be the plane, we will be very sad.
United in grief for the families and loved ones waiting for news in Beijing. Here there is deep suspicion that the Malaysian authorities are covering up the truth. But still they come each day, as they have since the plane disappeared 2 weeks ago, in the hope that some of their questions will be answered. But the mystery shows no sign of giving up its secrets. The silence fueling fury.
马来西亚
Malaysia is a bastard, really. They said there was no crash, no hijack, no shooting down of the missing plane. So why would they still search for the plane in the ocean, right? Our common people are not idiots. What kind of behaviour is this? For now, I cannot say anything. I asked them to explain, but they said they couldn't. Malaysia said they were unable to explain.
The anguish of all the families is shared around the world, but so is their sense of helplessness. In Malaysia itself, the nation waits. Once proof of the airliner's fate is known, then it can begin to grieve.
Harapan saya adalah
people need an answer, so I hope the government gives us true information and avoids speculation. That only serves to make us anxious, especially the families of the victims.
With the latest signs, I don't think there's any chance they're alive because so many days have passed. If they'd been hijacked, you would have expected some demands by now.
For others, there is a need to do something, however small, just to show the families and their missing loved ones that they are not alone in this difficult time.
We felt that as a community of cyclists, we want to gather together and pray for MH370 that a miracle will happen.
I wish they all can came back safely. Actually, no matter what is the problem, I wish they can come back home early and safe.
While the search for answers goes on deep in the southern Indian Ocean, so too does the investigation here in Kuala Lumpur. Early suspicion fell on the Malaysian flight's captain, 53-year-old Zahari Ahmed Shah. He's a vastly experienced pilot with more than 18,500 flying hours under his belt.
He was a volunteer in the community program that I organized. At the end of the program, there was this guy helping to stack chairs to clean up that place. And not having met him before, I asked, who is this man? And I was told he works for Malaysian Airlines. I went to say thank you to him and he introduced himself, giving me his name card. And when I saw he was a captain of a 777, that's the kind of humble person that Captain Zahari is.
His first officer was Fariq Abdul Hamid. He's 27 years old and joined Malaysia Airlines in 2007. He was fairly new to this model of aircraft, a Boeing 777. CCTV shows the two men going through security on their way to board the flight that evening. We're told they did not specifically request to fly together. Police have searched their homes, talking to friends and neighbours. And they found this simulator in Captain Zahari's house. Investigators say that some data on it has been deleted. Could the flight manifest hold the answers? Investigators are scrutinising every name on it.
I want to know everything about them. I want to know who they are, what they stand for, who they talk to, what do their telephones say, what does their hard drives and their computers say. We really want to know an awful lot about them. Do they show up on any criminal list anywhere in the world? Do they show up on any, counterintelligence list? Are they associates?
A fortnight after the plane's disappearance, and we're learning some more about the men, women and children who were on board this flight. Chandrika Sharma was heading to Mongolia via Beijing to attend a United Nations meeting on food and agriculture. Her husband and daughter are inconsolable.
These have been very anxious moments. The family is being updated while what the Malaysian Airlines said, that don't believe any news channel, don't believe the press, just believe what we are telling you. And they do hold their press conferences, and really there's been no outcome out of it. It's been a fair amount of agony in that, being anxious. I mean, we've heard so many stories since the beginning of the whole incident. I mean, it was so it's been changing every day, and and everybody's anxiously waiting.
The youngest passenger is 2 years old, the oldest 76. 7 of them are children yet to reach their 5th birthdays. 26-year-old Yu Wen-chao is originally from Mongolia. He moved to study business at Hull University in England. He went back to see his girlfriend. Mukdesh Mukherjee and his wife, Xiaomo Bei, had been on a beach holiday together in Vietnam. Their 2 young sons are waiting for them at home. "15 different nationalities were flying to Beijing that night, among them 153 from China, 38 from Malaysia, 5 from India, 4 French, 3 from the United States. 2 Iranians on board became initial suspects, but seemed to have been ruled out. 35-year-old Zhu Kung is a stuntman who was due to start work on a new series for Netflix in Malaysia next week. He was on his way to Beijing to see his 2 young children. Bob and Kathy Lawton are from Springfield Lakes in Australia. They have 3 daughters, and they're described as doting grandparents. Paul Weeks is a mechanical engineer. He accidentally left his wedding ring and watch behind at home as he travelled to Mongolia for work. Adrian Waterloo on the right is 17. Zhao Yan on the left is 18. They were on their way to school in Beijing. And 34-year-old Hu Xiaoning was on his way home with his 3-year-old daughter, Hu Xiu. Two weeks on and we still do not know where these missing passengers are. But we have 2 separate images that could be wreckage from the missing airliner.
My biggest concern is that if we are not able to identify the debris, having to go back to the 2 corridors is a huge and massive area. This is unprecedented. I've spoken to so many experts. I've spoken to nearly every leader in the world, and it's unprecedented in the scale in which the search and rescue is being done, but it's also unprecedented in the complexity in which we have to work in moving forward. Now that is something that I find perplexing, not frustrating, because I'm determined to continue.
A massive international search is underway. From the air and on sea. Everything possible is being done to find clues to help solve one of the greatest aviation mysteries of modern times. But each passing day brings more heartache for the families, waiting to see their loved ones finally come home.